Welcome to the Heat Beat Podcast. Today we are a fitness episode. Kenny, did you get your cardio in?
I did not. I haven't gotten cardio in a good year and a half, 2 years, but my metabolism saves me, so I'm good for now at least. But I'm turning 30 soon, so that might become an issue at some point.
Listen, Miami Heat Beat now has a new policy. You need to be below 15% body fat to participate. I'm on the chopping block. Brian's on the chop. We're all on the chopping block, so get with it. You will be checked by Siobhan in October. You better come in to the season ready, and that's final. But that's our show. I'm kidding. What's up, guys? It is, chat. Schmandy in chat says Alpha's fucked. Yeah, Alpha. Ooh, a lot of us are fucked. I mean, me, Frankie, we're all a little fucked. Siobhan and Tiff might be the only two that pass. Got to be honest. Shade50 said Moose is 30% monkey shoulder. That is correct. Funny story about Moose, Kenny. Moose actually saw me out in public, refused to talk to me.
Why? Just
straight up did not. And then Moose is like, "Hey, I saw you here." I was like, "Oh, you were that car?" And he's like, "Yeah, why didn't you say hi?" I didn't want to.
Because y'all live like right next to each other, right? By coincidence?
Neighbors, yeah. We're neighbors.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then Moose saw me in public and just decided I want nothing to do with him. Just wanted a break from me.
That's because Miami is such a gigantic city. For like two people who work together on this small thing to end up living right next to each other without planning it is just kind of insane.
Not even that, but he saw me out in public somewhere else and decided I'm not going to talk to him, which is funny. Moose is ice cold. Everybody, welcome to Heat Beat. We have a lot to talk about today. Pat Riley had his yearly end of season press conference. Pat Riley wins the press conference every year. He leads the league in inflammatory things said per 100 possessions. He's a fucking machine at the press conferences, and he said a lot today. He said a lot, which had a lot of people upset. Sometimes some people, not even Heat fans, they were mad. Kenny, Raptors Twitter's upset. They're angry.
They're always upset.
They people are mad. Tyler Herro stands are upset. Max Strus and Duncan Robinson should be upset. We'll get into that in a second. But I think we got to start at the top here. I think we'll talk about the Lowry stuff later because it's not as interesting to me. I thought the most interesting part was Tyler Herro in his exit interview, which was a totally voluntary exit interview. Right? You go in, you talk to the media. PJ didn't come. Duncan didn't come. Very wise of Duncan not to show up. It wasn't mandatory. Yeah. And Tyler Herro decided that he was going to show up and he was going to demand to start, which honestly, great move for Herro, right? For Tyler Herro, I think he should start. Let me rephrase that. I think he is talented enough to start. Whether he should or shouldn't start's a different conversation, but he certainly wants to start. I think he did his little year off the bench. Probably the worst thing for the Heat was him winning that award because now he has nothing to play for. So now he's like, well, I did this little thing. I was the best guy off the bench in the whole league, and I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And now he's demanding to start publicly. Went to the media, said, I want to start. I deserve. He used very specific phrasing, which makes me think an agent told him to say that. He's like, I've earned it or I deserved it, which, Kenny, it's hard to argue.
Yeah,
he deserved it. Riley came out here and said, motherfucker, you earned it in training camp. It's just funny.
Yeah.
It's funny.
I love and agree with it from both sides. From Tyler's end, he did earn it. I think to be the team's second leading scorer off the bench, that is impressive. But we know this Heat team this past year had a lot of trouble getting things going until Tyler checked into the game, all the way into the playoffs, even when he was struggling. And so I think he's earned that. I don't think the max starting thing is like locked in as permanent anyway. So I do think Tyler can feel that way. He has, like I said, he's earned it. We can talk about the defense, but later on in the playoffs, Max was also getting hunted on defense. And while he held his own more often than Tyler typically does, it still also worked a whole bunch in the Celtics series. And so especially coming off the series that Max had, that a bunch of guys had where Tyler wasn't even playing, I can completely see why Tyler says that. Now, as far as Pat Riley, you're just not going to pull that shit because he didn't let Kareem Abdul-Jabbar get away with shit like that. And so if Tyler made it public that he wanted to start, Pat Riley made it public, hey, motherfucker, you got to earn it, which has always been the case with the Heat. There's no guarantees. There's no handouts. And so we'll see what Tyler works on in the offseason. We're going to see if he gets his footwork together, watches some more film as far as defense goes, because that's what's been holding him back from starting is the defense. And so if he comes back to training camp looking great, or not great is a lot, but competent on that end, I can see him getting a shot at starting. It's an 82-game season. Why not?
Dwayne Wade came off the bench for this team. Dwayne Wade. And we're going to talk about Dwayne Wade and Pat's relationship a little later when it gets to Kyle, but Dwayne fucking Wade came off the bench. Goran Dragic came off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? These are and Goran Dragic came off the bench for Kendrick Nunn, right?
Yeah.
Nobody. You know what I mean? A guy who was like straight up wasn't that good. So I think they like, Tyler off the bench. I think they want to be a little bigger when they start, which is why Max is there. I think that they like just one less ball handler on the court so that they can stagger their ball handling minutes, and you give yourself less of a target. All this stuff, and then when you bring a guy off the bench, you really have a guy to lead your second unit in scoring. And I think ideally that's what Eric Spoelstra likes, and he's always kind of liked in his rotations. And for Tyler really put the pressure on them, because at the end of the day, Kenny, he's the one that is going to negotiate the contract with the Heat. And if he wants to start and they want to keep him, guess what?
Yeah.
He'll go somewhere where they'll let him start. You know what I mean? Now, they can play a game of chicken, and I think we've seen Pat play games of chicken in the past. Sometimes he wins, sometimes he loses, but, that is what it is. And for him to put that pressure publicly and for Riley to respond back, I think pretty normal. But I also think at the end of the day, he just has to play. He just has to do what he did last year. And if he says, "Hey, coach, I want to start," he's gonna start. They're in a contract negotiation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they don't want him to leave.
And I do want to point out too, because I'm not sure where the discourse surrounding this is gonna go or where it went. I was like, my day job has been very hectic, so I didn't see much of the timeline. But we know just from being Heat fans for a very long time, deep down, or maybe not even deep down, Pat Riley loved that Tyler Herro said that. He loved seeing Tyler put that challenge out there for himself and for the team. That's what Pat Riley wants to see. And so I think it's going to end up paying off for him. Like Pat said, and like we said, if Tyler Herro shows in the training camp, he's going to get that opportunity.
They both said all the right things. They both said all the right things. Riley said the right things. Just like, you got to come earn it. Fan base is like, yeah. And then Tyler said, rightfully, I deserve to start.
And he does deserve to start.
And he does deserve it.
It's not much of an argument against it now.
Yeah. That ship has sailed. But, it's just interesting to see that kind of go on. And I thought that the comments today were, important in that sense. And that, I think that I'm sure that they're going to try to, hey, Tyler, for winning this and that. And maybe Tyler's like, fuck that. I want to start. I'm a young guy. I want to start. And that's how that goes. And then that's, I want to be in the lineup. I mean, that sometimes for some dudes, that's important. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe he doesn't want to be Lou Williams,
Yeah. And again, the offense, the scoring specifically does drag a whole bunch a lot of times until he comes into the game. So why not put him in there and get that quick start?
And Kenny, by the way, if he wants to throw a fit and be upset about it, I'm sure that they're looking, over the. Now, I want to put the Utah stuff to rest for a little bit.
Yeah,
do we really think? Do we think Danny Ainge is going to do a deal with Pat Riley?
That's not happening.
It took like several regime changes in Cleveland for that to happen in Miami, and I just don't see Danny Ainge, handing Pat Riley a star. That shit goes back too deep.
And as much as I'm critical of Donovan Mitchell, his price is way higher than Tyler Herro and Duncan Robinson.
Oh,
there's the fact that Utah already has Jordan Clarkson, so they don't really need a Tyler Herro type. I'm not gonna stop people from dreaming because it is the off season. This is the time to do it. But I would be in complete disbelief if that deal actually happens. There's just so much stuff.
I mean,
that
if
just
that's
points towards it not
available,
happening.
Kenny, you do it. I mean, Donovan
Yeah.
Mitchell is like an upgrade, right? And like you're so close that you take that. I'm not
Mhm.
like a huge Donovan Mitchell guy, but like you're stupid if you would.
Yeah, getting better is getting better.
Getting better is getting better. That guy's
Yeah.
fucking good. You know, whether how good it is, it's a different thing. Chat's also hitting me on my insecurities. Thanks, chat. Y'all, I know I can count on you all the time. But I mean, I don't really know. I've seen a lot of things have been said about Mitchell and all that. I mean, he's a target on defense. I think you bet on the culture, quote unquote, to get him up to at least a decent level defensively.
Yeah.
We've seen that sometimes work and sometimes not work. I mean, guys like Dion came here and really competed on defense. Other guys like Kendrick never did, or even guys like Ray Allen came here and competed on defense, and Mike Miller and stuff like that. So, you never know, but he's just not ideal. Like he's not the perfect guy, but he's really good. But I just don't know if Tyler, Duncan, Yurt, and picks or
It's
like
not
one
happening.
or two picks is enough to get it done.
And him and the Utah organization have said multiple times that he's not going anywhere. Like, and let's not like have another Bradley Beal situation where we're going years and years ignoring a guy saying he's not leaving his team. Until something actually happens, then fine. But we can't go with this. He's gonna demand a trade because let's stop in our tracks right here.
Also, like they're playing the stuff about like Herro's a target on defense too. So it's like they're both targets on defense, but like one guy's like clearly like a fuck ton better, and he has the physical tools that you can see that he can at least compete on defense, where Tyler has some physical limitations. In terms of wingspan and all that. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know how much we can really talk about that because nothing's really. I mean, again, Miami's
he's not leaving Utah.
Miami's always linked, and for everybody who shit on the Duncan deal, the only reason that you're in these trade conversations is because you have the Duncan contract. You need to have that big ticket contract to get you into trade discussions. Without that deal, you don't have anything.
And I'm not sure if we want to talk about this right now, but forget the on-court stuff, forget the production. The way Duncan's contract is structured is pretty genius.
Well, yeah.
And so
we got into that when they signed it because it was – and I'll even say this, and I love Keith Smith. Keith Smith does great work. But I remember Keith Smith – saw Brian's cap numbers and was like, no, that's wrong. There's just no way they'd ever structure a deal like that. That's too team friendly. No player would ever do that. And shout out to Brian Goins. Had it right over the cap expert because Brian knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, coming off of where he came from, they made him the highest paid undrafted guy ever. He got 5 years, so that's great on his end. His money's guaranteed. It's the NBA, not the NFL. And from the team's perspective, that contract really kind of no matter how he plays, just the value never goes down. We can get to it. It never really goes down because, he gets paid more and more every year, but the more he gets paid, the closer he gets to expiring. So the closer he gets to expiring, the more valuable that contract becomes. And I said it on air before, during his last year of that contract where he's the most expensive, the NBA's new TV deal kicks in anyway. And so whatever team has him, it's not that much of a hit compared to what other guys are going to be getting paid anyway.
So he was at 15 and a half last season. He's going to be at 16.9 this season. He'll be at 18 next season, 19 the following, and then 19.8 the last year, which is a player option. So, the fact that they got him for 15 last season, I think is huge because they were able to fit the Lowry figure and they were able to kind of manipulate their tax bill, manipulate their salary cap and all that. So obviously they know what they're doing. But the more that you wait, the easier it gets to trade the contract because A, it expires, and B, it's bigger and bigger, and that's an asset. And I think when a lot of people look at the money and they get mad, I think it's justifiable that you're upset that you have a $15.5 million player not playing in the most important minutes of your season. I think that's totally fair. Whether that's justified or not, it's a different conversation. But I think it's fair that if your coach is not trusting your fourth highest paid player to play in the most important minutes, I think that's a problem. Where people are wrong is that, he's like rotting space because they give that contract probably knowing he'll never play to the value of it, but they know that they can always move it, or like what they did with Hassan Whiteside, break it up into 2 deals and then move one and keep the other, like they did with Mo Harkless and Redacted, so that they can get Jimmy Butler. So they're very good at manipulating kind of their salaries and their contracts and all that.
And the thing about it too, forget about the numbers, because we know the way he started off the season kind of skews his shooting numbers this year, but there's always going to be a team who can really use a shooter, and you can kind of see how much other teams value a player by how they play him. It doesn't matter what Duncan's shooting like. Anytime he steps into a game, the main focus is not letting him get a shot off. And so I'm sure those same organizations that are game planning this, that are making sure they understand what he's worth as a shooter. So that the trade value stuff and the contract value stuff, it's a little overstated. I think if they want to move Duncan, they'll be able to move Duncan and they won't have a problem with it. And if the longer they wait, like you said, that contract becomes more valuable.
Can I give you some numbers, Kenny?
Yeah, go ahead.
Pre-All-Star break, Duncan Robinson shot 36% from 3, 36.4. Post-All-Star break, 39.7.
There you go.
So month by month, October 32, November 33, December 37, January 41, February 35, March 41, and April 41. So really, outside of a wonky February, really was a 40% shooter every month in the turn of the new year.
There you go. You can always use that.
Volume.
Yeah. You can always, I don't have, like I said, the way his contract is structured, I think is absolutely genius. So credit to Andy Ellisberg for that. And look, they'll be fine. That contract is not a huge deal. But like you said, for them to get in these rooms, because as much as people keep throwing Tyler in trades, he's making $4 million. And if he signs that extension, he can't be traded for 6 months.
Yeah, you need to couple him with a guy like Duncan to really move him. So, I would look out for that. I mean, I think a lot of fans already know that, but
a lot don't though.
I think a lot get it. You know what I mean? But I do see, especially with the Myers deal as well. People were upset about it, and I was telling everybody at the time, I was like, listen, you are assigning him over the cap with his bird rights. So if he walks, you literally just lose money. Nothing. They got Ariza with that contract. Whether or not Ariza worked out or not is irrelevant. The fact is that you got something to help you with that money, because you could not use that money to sign a new player because it was over the cap. So you couldn't get anybody else. There was literally money that was going to disappear, and you made that into a contract of a player that was helping you. Theoretically, I mean, whether or not you felt he was good or not is irrelevant. He played minutes, and if he was good, you know what I mean, all that stuff. So,
and by the way, I do want to point out too, because we are hard on Trevor sometimes, but who's not going to have trouble with Giannis? Really, he played well for the most part. He did a lot of dumb stuff on offense, took some shots he didn't need to take.
Didn't shoot well enough, and that was
really the thing. He wasn't bad.
He wasn't bad.
The bird rights. Same as Duncan. They had Duncan's bird rights. They could have either brought him back and had this one trade chip with a salary that makes sense, or they just could have had nothing.
They've really not been able to find a guy. I guess Jay was that guy, but Jay was going through an unusual hot streak. And by the way, against the Celtics, Jay Crowder shot the ball very, very poorly.
Yeah. That all that died down in the bubble after a while.
Well, he in the Bucks series he was red hot, and then in the Lakers series he was
after a while
he was good.
Yeah.
But in the specifically the Celtics series, he was really, really bad. So I think they've struggled to find that shooting 4 guy. Obviously PJ not on the floor in the final minutes of Game 7. Which, by the way, Miami, they're for all the people that says that the Heat have to go big. Miami's solution to Boston was to go 3 guards and Jimmy at the 4. So for all the people, and it worked, and they could not guard it, and nobody had an answer for Jimmy at the 4 all playoff long. That's something that's a little bit to chew on. We do know that they need another wing, maybe a backup 4. Obviously the Keefe thing did not work out with health and everything, and you really need some versatility at the wing spot. I could play a little 4. We have a ton of offseason to get to that. Just wanted to touch on the Duncan, the Donovan stuff because it kind of linked to the Tyler thing and Riley's press conference. Somebody, Smeethan goes, speaking of chewing, Kyle Lowry. Great trade. Yeah, man, it was, the comments were, I thought, funny. Also, like, very Pat Riley. Mm-hmm. Right, Kenny? Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna pull up the comments right now just so that I don't want to misquote Pat because I think and unfortunately, and Brady Hawk is great. Brady Hawk just broke up his tweets and somebody quote tweeted the one tweet that didn't have the context from the previous tweet. And then, which again, it's like, and that's the problem with tweeting these press conferences. Because like Will Manso has the context, but Brady doesn't. But Brady had the context in another tweet because Brady tweets a whole quote while other people surmise and you run out of characters and you got to do fast. So it's like, A, that fucking sucks for Brady, who's doing a fantastic job, covering the team. And B, you just really take guys out of context. That's really fucked up. So I don't like that. Yeah, so Will Manso goes, Pat Riley on Kyle Lowry. Makes it clear that Lowry had some personal issues and didn't want to get into, but says you have to be in world-class shape. Says that's even more so as you get older. Adds he definitely has to address that, and it will be addressed. Typical Pat Riley stuff.
Yeah.
Typical. He told Dwayne Wade when Dwayne Wade got traded back here, you've eaten your last pancakes. He literally said that. Greg Cody reported that. That Pat literally told the fucking franchise icon, you've eaten your last pancakes. Veggies from now on, bro. Come on, man.
I mean,
what are we doing?
Tim Hardaway had a weight clause in his contract. Like, he couldn't, like, we know about the body fat thing. This is what the Miami Heat does. And this is why certain types of players want to come here. And, like, do we really think, as close as Kyle is to Jimmy, that before deciding he wanted to come here, he didn't know Pat had standards as far as weight goes?
Shaq wrote it in the book. Shaq would try to he would take off the little stickies when they were on the bike. He and Walker in the book that he wrote with that racist lady wrote to Jackie McMullen. He said that.
There's another story. So they have a giant scale in Heat's practice facility where everybody can see guys' weight and see if they're overweight or not. And Pat brought that in because of Shaq. So
Shaq was a big dude. Jermaine O'Neal didn't want to come back as the Oreos. Like, this is known. Like, James Johnson was not allowed to play for like 3 weeks. He came into camp and they're like, nah. Obviously, different players get different treatment, but let's not, you know what I mean? Like, this is not a surprise to Kyle. This is not, oh my God, woe is me, Kyle Lowry. I'm being fat shamed by the president of the company that I work for. That's not happening. And I think that people made it that way. Like, listen, I don't think Kyle needs to lose weight. I've been on the record. I think that, him being a bigger dude helps him guard up, helps him take more contact. And I've said before, when Dwayne Wade lost too much weight, he got hurt more because he plays a very physical basketball and you need the weight to take contact. So I don't think that Kyle needs to lose weight. That's just Riley shit. And I kind of wave it off and I'm like, that's kind of funny. Haha, you called him fat. And then we moved on. And then Raptors Twitter. I love Raptors Twitter. I'm like honorary Raptors Twitter. Those are my friends. They overreacted. Yeah,
there's some cool people on Raptors Twitter, but it's a lot of like strange people also.
I don't want to do that either. I don't know. Like I just don't understand the pearl clutching of that. Yeah. Like, look, I don't know. It just felt weird. And then Heat fans, you shut up too, because they're like, well, he was paid $35 million.
Yeah,
Get your ass on the treadmill, fat boy. Like, yeah, okay, whatever. I mean, fine.
Why are we always bringing up guys' salary? It doesn't make any sense.
I don't understand that. Who cares, man?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you want to know some other, like, whoever may be upset, because I don't think it was only Raptor fans who might have been upset. You know what's Pat Riley held to that standard? Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Patrick Ewing, Tim Hardaway, Alonzo Mourning, like Hall of Famers. So
John Starks.
Yeah, Kyle Lowry. Yeah, well, John Starks was a whole other thing. He was really good, though. I'll give him credit. But, yeah, like, this is Pat Riley's thing, and everybody knows it. So, Kyle's, Kyle's not surprised. Gary Payton had kind of a rough time because he was retired too. He had to come back and get in shape before Pat. That's a whole thing.
That was Coach Pat. That wasn't even.
Yeah.
You think Spo was Pat? This should be different if Pat was coaching.
But yeah, it's like Pat's had this reputation for 30 plus years. Like Kyle's not getting away. And he said, come back in shape. That he has 4 months to get in shape. It has nothing to do with last season, really. It's like, just be conditioned when you come back. When we come back to camp, he challenged Kyle to do that. He challenged Tyler to earn a starting spot. He challenged Bam to shoot more. Like Pat challenges guys. That's the way he coached and it's the way he runs his team.
That's what old dudes do. That's what old sports guys do. He just really embodies the 80s.
Yeah. And look, Kyle Lowry, we know, and for any Raptor fans who may be watching this, we understand he is a very tough guy. He's known for being tough. That's why he wanted him. That's why he wanted to come here. So his feelings are not hurt by Pat holding him to that standard. He knows better, but he's good.
It would be funny if he actually did have his calls Jimmy. Could you fucking believe what Pat Riley said about me? This guy called me. This guy said I gotta get in shape. I can't fucking who does he think he is? Does he think he's Masai? Masai never said that shit to me. Masai just traded my best friend. By the way, Kyle Lowry very famously did not like Masai for trading his best friend and protested by not shooting the ball. I did the Kobe. Better Kobe tribute than Jason Tatum's ever done.
Oh man, Jason Tatum. That's a whole thing. Corny.
He has to.
Yeah,
stop. I don't know, man. It's weird, and I know that he wants to honor a person he admired. I don't know, man. It's weird. Just I'm uncomfortable.
It's a little much. Like
at first it was funny. Yeah. Like it was like corny when he wore the armband. I was like, all right, whatever, bro. And now it's just like, come on.
Like, for one, you're the face of the Celtics. Why are you doing all this over? Like, I understand you knew him, you grew up, but
Devin Booker didn't even do that. And that guy, what does Devin Booker have?
DeMar DeRozan grew up in LA idolizing Kobe, played against Kobe and trained with Kobe when he was a teenager. He's not doing all this.
DeMar actually puts his money where his mouth is and puts up bad games in big spots. What better way to tribute Kobe? Just bricking mid-range shots when it matters. No Ron Artest to get your rebound.
I don't want to get into that, but you also
I love Kobe. I love to make the jokes. I love Kobe.
Yeah.
He was very fortunate that Ron Artest got a miss twice.
Man.
Well, the once against Phoenix and then the 3.
Yeah.
Or Meta World Peace. I'm sorry. I may never get used to that one.
I'm calling him Ron Artest.
Nah, but I can't do that because he wants people to call him Meta, and I'm not gonna.
He changed the name again. He took his wife's maiden name, so he's he's back to Ron. I think he's Ron Artest Sandiford or something like that now. It's a whole thing.
I love Ron.
Yeah, I want to. He said he doesn't mind people calling him Ron Artest. So
he said that. Oh, thank God.
Yeah, he doesn't really mind it.
He's Ron Artest till the day I die.
Yeah.
Cool. King.
That's the guy I wanted to play for the Heat so bad when he was in his prime.
Bro, he may have fought Pat.
When he was with the Pacers, I wanted that dude on this team so bad. He used to give D Wade so much trouble, and I hated it.
He fucking gives everybody trouble. He was Ron Artest. Bro, did you see that Pat quote today? He's like, I bet I could do more push-ups than you.
I believe him.
I need Ira and Pat to do a push-up contest.
Ira is not getting a push-up off.
I think Ira could give you 5.
Maybe. I don't know.
Will Mansell can do more push-ups than Pat Riley. No question.
Will Mansell, I think, might be in shape. I don't know for sure, but his suits are too nice for me to believe he's not in shape.
Now,
out of shape guys don't wear suits.
Runs. Nice. Will gives me runner energy. I think Will could do more push-ups. I think Anthony looks like he's in shape, but just because he's skinny. But Anthony doesn't look like he works out. Anthony Chang. So I'm not sure that Anthony. Yeah. I bet you Riley goes to the gym more often than Anthony Chang.
Yeah, Will Mansell looks like he bikes across the bridge to the beach and then back downtown to the arena. I think
Will Mansell lives in Fort Lauderdale, and I'm pretty sure he just runs to the arena every day.
Yeah, that dude seems like he's in shape. Yeah, there's a different beast. I can't do any of that shit. I'm gonna be honest.
Listen, push-ups. I wonder how many people on Heat can do more push-ups than Pat Riley.
I probably can't. I'm gonna be honest.
I think Siobhan might be able to, but I just believe in Siobhan's athletic ability. Maybe I'm doing. Maybe this is unfair to Siobhan. I just believe that Siobhan can. I believe that Siobhan has a will of steel, and she can accomplish a lot.
Siobhan's the only Heat member who still does athletic stuff sometimes.
That's
so,
true. I do yoga. I mean, I've gained a lot of weight.
Yeah,
that is.
I've heard that's difficult.
I've gained weight since the pandemic. I'm not out here lying, but I used to play volleyball regularly and soccer. I miss that. But yeah, Bon is really the last vestiges of our athleticism.
Yeah, Siobhan versus Pat Riley push-up contest. Let's get it done.
We got to get this up. Set this up. We'll do it for charity. We'll do it for Pride Month. Speaking of Pride Month, we have our Pride Month celebration. Be on the lookout. Tomorrow, I think our shirts go up. So buy that. We're going to donate to Pride for Youth and to Pulse. So, be on the lookout for that. We did that last year. We raised over $6,000. I think our goal this year is going to be $7,000. So let's really get that going. Let's try to raise $10,000. We have a couple really, really cool donations for our Pride stuff that's coming up. I think some of the auctions, we're going to have a few auctions. Some of them are really fucking cool. We have some of your favorite people donating some cool experiences and some merch and some cool things. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to make announcements as the month goes on. But yeah, man. So I think those are the highlights. Also, Riley calling Duncan a screen merchant was funny. The quote said, he's talking about Bam. He's always getting somebody open. Duncan should just give him half his check.
Are we sure that wasn't Chef Trilly who said that? And then,
no, Brady Hawk tweeted it. If Brady Hawk tweets it, I believe it.
Yeah, Brady is legit, man.
Yeah, I listen to Brady. So Brady said that, and Brady quoted that. Duncan should give him half his check. Tyler should pay him half his check. And Max should give him half his check. I feel the Max one was unnecessary. Max doesn't make a lot compared to other dudes.
I love that from Pat, though, because it's kind of a backhanded way to, the players understand, but a lot of the fans who don't really understand Bam's value, especially on the offensive end, point out, he makes all this shit kind of go, whether it shows up on the stat sheet or not. And so I love that from Pat.
I'd be pissed if I'm Duncan. I'd be pissed. I'd be like, "What do you mean? I gotta give?" If I'm Max, that's unfair for Tyler.
Yeah, Max creates his own stuff.
Yeah, Tyler shouldn't be in that. I mean, Tyler's a pick and roll ball handler. Tyler doesn't really do a lot of DHOs anymore. That one felt the Max one was the Duncan one's funny. The Tyler one, I was like, okay, you're reaching. The Max one, I was like, that's unfair. Come on, man. Poor Max.
But Bam does a ton to get those guys open at the same time. I get it, and I do like it. And plus, those guys are not taking it personal.
I don't know about that. That's one thing I would take personal. I'd be like, bro, what do you mean? If I'm Duncan, I'd be like, Bam's not doing all the running I'm doing. What the fuck?
I could never run as much as Duncan does. I don't know how he.
That shit looks awful.
Oh man, I don't know how many miles per game he runs. I think somebody posted it at one point, but I just don't even want to know.
He runs as much as Will Mantle does to the arena. It looks horrible, man. It doesn't even look like he's playing basketball anymore. He's just doing track. He's fucking
that's why sometimes I don't blame him for the misses. Like, how could you just ran 4 miles on one possession and you got to get your shot in order? Like, I'll give him a break on some of these misses.
His defense slipped in a way that was a little concerning.
Yeah,
Duncan. I mean, we don't have to relitigate Duncan. I just thought Riley doing that was funny. And listen, Riley didn't even wear a suit today. This man wore. Honestly, I'm gonna flat out say it. I don't think he dressed nice today.
But you gotta love that about Pat Riley.
No, I expect a fucking suit. I don't expect a tie. I expect a suit and a clean fucking button down. This shit looks like he bought it at Zara or some shit. I don't know. I don't really. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I don't like the fit today.
Yeah, but him not caring about that and then going in and saying all the stuff he says, like, it's a perfect match. Like, he just didn't give a fuck about anything. Like,
he should have just come in a t-shirt. That would have been funnier.
Like a little wrinkled one with the bacon neck on it,
or maybe just like with a pocket. Nobody ever wants those, right? This is what you get.
The pockets are useless there.
Who the fuck? Come in with one with a pocket. Just doesn't give a fuck.
You're not putting pins in a t-shirt. So
I think he wore an Apple Watch today too. It wasn't even like a nice watch.
Pat Riley does not know how to use an Apple Watch. I'm not believing that.
No, he likes gadgets. I think it's been actually talked about. He loves gadgets.
That's interesting.
Old people like gadgets. Let me tell you something. My grandmother fucking loves the old people. I once had a friend tell me that his theory why old people like slot machines, we grew up with video games, so we had lights and shit. They didn't have that. So they're like fucking fascinated by like a tablet. Old people love tablets. Old people probably love tablets more than you and I like tablets. I say that holding an Apple Pencil.
You know what? That's probably because my family's like from like the backwoods of Georgia and they just don't know shit. Like no old people in my family know how to use shit. It's kind of annoying because I always got to go fix stuff or like pretty much plug it in. But hey, man, hopefully my dad, once he gets older, is better with that stuff. But I always got to help somebody with something.
Other Pat quote I thought was interesting. Pat Riley says, this is from, I'm quoting Brady Hawk's Twitter. This is what we're doing now. Pat Riley says, if they run it back, they'd still have a very good team, but adds, you have to be proactive in looking for how you're going to improve. I think we all realize that you can use more. We're always going to try to improve the team. Jokes, if there's one out there, throw it to me. We will look, we will explore. We always do this. They know that they don't. Listen, I'm sorry. I've watched these two finals games. Kenny, maybe call me a homer in it. I see no reason why he could not be tied in this series as well.
Yeah, no, I believe it 100%.
Both those teams are. I mean, Miami was within a shot of beating the Celtics, and if they were a little healthier, they just might have. And I just think flat out the Warriors look vulnerable. Their offense can get mucky at times. Yeah. They're a little too cool for their own good sometimes.
They're so careless with the ball. It's
Kenny,
crazy.
They think it's 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Clay especially. And
I feel so bad for Clay.
Yeah, me too. Clay does this weird thing. Clay walks like a 2005 video game. It's like it's like that. It's weird, but you'll know it when you see it. Watch Clay, and it's just like it's just
like when you put the analog up a little bit.
Yeah. It's a very stiff. It's a very stiff bob. It doesn't look like. It looks like this. You know what I mean? Like he's just kind of moving back. It's really funny, but I don't know, man. Both those teams look beatable. Miami's close, and I think one of the biggest mistakes that you can make. Now, I think at times, like in 2005, when Wade got hurt in the Eastern Conference Finals, they had a total overhaul. Right? That was they added GP and Antoine, and they really fucking changed the whole team. I don't think you got to do that, especially because you don't have a young star. Like, listen, Bam is Bam, but I mean, Dwayne Wade was like a different kind of special. You know what I mean? You knew, okay, this is cornerstone. Like, we have a fucking no question, like whatever Ja is times two. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they had that, right? So they were afforded this, like, okay, let's just fucking tear the whole thing up and rearrange it. And he's so good that it won't matter. And we have Shaq.
Yeah. Well, no, but at the same time too, I think with that trade, it was such a big trade because so many teams were involved. But the Heat actually only traded away Eddie Jones and I think Andre Emmett. Gary Payton was retired already. They just brought him in as a free agent. Jason Williams had wanted to welcome in Memphis years ago, so they wanted to get rid of him. Anton Walker had gone back to Boston, and his relationship with that front office still wasn't repaired from when they traded him away the first time. So they wanted to get rid of him, and so it came really cheap on the Heat's end. They traded Eddie Jones and Andre Emmett, and they got all those guys.
I'm pulling up 9.
Yeah.
Hold on, wait. What's the number?
Just correct me if I'm wrong, but
13-player trade between the Heat, the Celtics, the Grizzlies, the Hornets, and the Jazz. Miami got
he gave up practically nothing.
He got Antoine, Jason Williams, James Posey, Andre Emmett, and the draft right to Robert Duenas.
I don't even remember him.
Boston got Woods, the draft rights to
it was Kentel Woods.
Woods. I did not know how to say that name. Thank you, Kenny. 2 second-round picks from Miami. So Miami went 2 second-round picks, and Chris Bouchard from Utah. Memphis got Eddie Jones from Miami. So Miami so far has outgone 2 second-round picks and Eddie Jones and Raul Lopez from Utah. Utah got Greg Olstertag from Memphis. That's a name. New Orleans got Rasul Butler from Miami and Kirk Snyder. So it was Rasul Butler. It was Eddie Jones and 2 second-round picks. Right back.
And Kentel Woods. See, that's the thing. That trade gets looked at in a way because there was so many teams involved, but he gave up practically nothing.
Bro, they got Jason Williams, Posey, and Twan. Holy shit, dude.
That's the thing. Like, it's not the overhaul. Like, it gets
Eddie
looked
Jones
at
was
as.
good.
He was a little later, and plus him and Wade didn't really work that well.
Rasul was also like a nice.
Yeah, R.I.P. Rasul Butler.
Yeah, man.
But he didn't. For what they got, they didn't really give away a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, 13-player deal is fucking crazy.
Yeah,
August
it's insane.
2nd, 2000. So it was an August trade. It was like kind of like a late one.
Yeah,
August 2nd, 2005. But Miami's not in that position, right? They just have to make a couple tweaks. Let's say they keep most of these guys. I'm sure that, probably Keith's not going to be here. I think, we'll see what happens with Oladipo. Let's see what happens with Caleb. Hopefully his health is good. You add, I doubt Mechanic's going to be back, or maybe he played himself back into price range. We don't know if his back is bad or what's happening with him, but I do think that Miami can make a couple of moves. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to see what they can get for Duncan, if they can break his contract up into 2, like what they did with Hassan. I think that makes sense for them, especially because, listen, in the most important moments, he was not playing. And I think that if they can split that contract into 2, maybe a couple like rotation wings, I'm sure that they take that. So we'll see. Or maybe like some wings and a second-round pick or something. I think they'd like to get some seconds back. And I think that's where they are.
Yeah. My prediction is they do that. And again, I love Duncan. Shout out to the coworker. We love Duncan, but I think they do that and they bring Oladipo back on a not similar contract to exactly what he got paid, but Oladipo becomes the next movable contract because they have his bird rights also. So it's not really.
Yeah. So, I mean, Dizzle 1990 in chat says a pure scorer, true center. He will be right back in the conversation for a championship. They haven't left the conversation for a championship.
Yeah.
They were literally a shot away from
I don't know
being in the finals. They're not. They could run the team back and they could be in the conversation.
I think the emphasis on a quote-unquote pure scorer has been very overstated also. I think their formula has worked. Jimmy, Bam, and a bunch of shooters. What happened is you had 6 or 7 guys not being able to make shots. And
the injuries.
That's an anomaly. Yeah, and the injuries. So I don't think giving the ball to a whole other guy just because you don't want Jimmy to score 40, which if he's able to, then let him.
Well, you would just replace Tyler with that guy, right? Because if you make a trade for a scorer, it's coming at the expense of Herro. So,
and also, and again, Tyler's not really getting you that much better of a scorer anyway.
I think you can get
for what he is.
I think if you
he's not getting you like the Donovan Mitchells and that stuff. I think as far as what they're able to do, I don't think there's.
Listen, you got to get a team that's a little desperate, and that's why you don't cash your chips, at a bad time. You kind of wait to see what you can get, cash your chips for somebody who's desperate in the right situation, and that's it. But you don't got to overhaul completely what you're doing because you've made a finals already. I think you've proven to everybody that run in the bubble was not a fluke. Jimmy Butler is that motherfucker. And Bam Adebayo, I don't think he had his best postseason. But I do think that he showed you some stuff, especially in that game 7 and in that game 3 or game 4. Was it game 4? Game 4.
And the thing we have to keep in mind, and the thing we have to keep in the audience's mind, because I did see a lot of the Bam criticism also. We got to pay attention to both sides of the ball. The Heat don't get to that Celtics series if Bam doesn't shut Joel Embiid down. Injury or not.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So we got to give Bam his credit there also.
That's a great point.
I just don't want that to get I don't want that to get like lost in all this stuff because I understand losses can be disappointing, but we can't just like completely shit on this guy without his defense. They do not make it past.
You got to count on Max getting better and Gabe getting better as well. Yeah. Those are guys that
which they've shown they can do.
And we made the mistake of hoping that Duncan and Jay Rich would get better, and they never did. So that's not. And justice, that's not always a bet that's going to pay out, but you got to hope that you get some internal improvement. You continue to build off of what you've kind of already made. So you have that also, and then you just make a couple moves on the margins. Hopefully, you can bring PJ back. I do think a lot of people are saying center. I think we're seeing that it's very rare that backup centers are viable in the NBA playoffs. I think we've seen, right, with Atlanta, with Philly, with Boston, their backup centers. I mean, Daniel Tice, with what the fuck is going on over there? You know what I mean? Like, Grant Williams is not really, I mean, I guess Grant's kind of a 5, but he plays a lot of 4, he plays 4-5, whatever. But a lot of backup centers just don't survive. And Miami decided to go with a wing, PJ, and it was very, very good. I do think that they need another wing who can play that, or a better backup 5 if Dedmon's not going to be right. So again, they have some tweaks. They don't gotta go big. They don't need a big next to Bam. People say we need a stretch big. PJ was your stretch big, and it was good. He
led the league in 3-point percentage like for half the season.
Yeah, so I think when people want stretch big, that guy is not super available. Like Christian Wood is like not.
Listen, Heat fans, y'all do not want Christian Wood.
I don't think you guys have watched a lot of. I don't think you want.
You haven't watched, and you don't really know what his like. And I understand there's this whole idea of like Heat culture can fix him. Fine. Sometimes it doesn't though. Like he is. Yeah, like Christian Wood. The idea of Christian Wood is so much better than the reality of Christian Wood.
Christian Wood puts up a lot of numbers on really bad teams. Remember, Christian Wood became like a fantasy darling whenever Drummond went out, because he would just put up the numbers that Drummond put.
Drummond and Griffin.
And we know Drummond sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would be wary. I think Wood is a good player. I just don't know if he's great for this team. I know I don't.
His brain, like the way he operates, he's just not. Is not it.
I don't think that's the kind of guy that again, he's a good player, so it's not like he'd come here and be fucking like a negative or anything. I'm just thinking like what it would take to get him, is tough. He's shot 39% on 5 attempts and 3. That's pretty good. You know what I mean? Getting a pick and pop game element, that's going to help you. But when rubber hits the road and you're in a playoff series, can you, just like Duncan, can you count on that guy being on the floor when it counts? And
that's the thing. That other side of the ball, you don't want Bam to have to cover for another guy on the defensive end.
I think that Miami's whole defensive principle is we want to switch, right? And by the way, when they got Crowder and Iguodala, they switched from a drop because they were just playing more 4s next to Bam, because originally it was Myers and Bam, and then they started switching more when they literally just started switching when they traded for Iguodala and Crowder, because now they were playing Crowder and Iguodala next to Bam, so you could do these really mobile lineups. And what you want if you're a defense is, I want Bam in on the action. So when teams screen, because most people's centers are rim runners and they screen. So when Bam's in that screening action, he can switch, and you want him in as many plays as you can. And what we saw in the postseason was teams either try to get Bam out of the play by having him pre-switch, and Miami really wised up to that, or they'll go at Tucker's guy, who is the 4, and really your big solution for getting rid of Bam is, I want PJ Tucker in my action. Like, those are bad choices. So when you add a guy like Christian Wood, you give the defense a very easy spot to attack because he has to drop, and now you have a coverage that most teams like to play against. And really the only solution is to either trap or to not play Christian Wood. Yeah.
And I mean, look at the Final Four from this year's season. Yeah. Like the big, thanks G, like the huge lumbering 7-footer, that's not really the thing anymore to go with. You kind of want to be able to go small and be able to switch and shut off teams' air supply. And so I understand the idea of, you want this 6'10", 6'11", 7-foot guy next to Bam who can hit jumpers, but that's fine on the offensive end. The defensive end, it gives you like another hole he has to cover, and I don't know if you really want that as much as you think you do.
Chat saying that Wood is going to be unrestricted free agent next year, blah, blah, blah. Miami's in cap hell. Like, let's not.
Yeah.
By the way, if you go for Wood, you're basically forgoing a scorer. Like, so again, I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying, like, really think about how Miami wins basketball games, and I don't think you want to change that too much. I think you want to insert guys where you're weak that fit within what you're doing because they're close. And I think a guy, even like Mitchell, who can just slot into the Tyler spot, makes more sense because you're just upgrading a spot. And again,
already there.
I don't think that's gonna happen, but that's why moves like that make more sense than a guy like Wood, where you're basically like, okay, we're not just switching everything anymore, and that's really the basis of their defense. So, just stuff to think about for the offseason. A lot of fun. I mean, they're not going to be an elite rebounding team, but they don't really have to be. And I think they really proved it. They just don't. Boston's not an elite rebounding team, and they beat the Bucks. Right? Miami's not an elite rebounding team, and again, it was literally it came down to a coin toss.
Yeah.
Warriors are not like this fucking clobbering rebounding team, and Kevon Looney's played really well, but Miami crushed Boston on the boards a lot of games, and Miami forces a fuck ton of turnovers, and they can offset the lack of offensive rebounding by turning you over, which they proved in multiple playoff series that they're just gonna fucking turn you over a bunch because of the amount of ball pressure that they can put with length. So,
yeah, it's a switching league, and it's on the offensive end, on the defensive end. On the offensive end, it's a mismatch hunting league. So even if you get this huge rebounder, he's gonna be on the perimeter anyway.
Which interesting.
And so you just want versatility rather than just size.
I do think it's funny that Peyton Pritchard suddenly gets to play again when they play the Warriors, because there's no Kenny. It's what I talked about. All playoffs. It's different when you have a power wing that can match up hunt, because you can overwhelm people with size and strength. Curry, obviously, these dudes can't guard Curry, but Peyton Pritchard is not unplayable, and you don't have to cut your rotation and exhaust your guys, because now you're just buying a couple minutes. Marcus had some foul trouble yesterday. You're able to kind of warp the minutes so that you can have like viable pieces in the game, and you're not like bleeding points when this guy comes in. It matters to have a guy like Jimmy who can just matchup hunt at his size and just absolutely annihilate you. So interesting to say. I know Pat Bev connected to you. We'll talk all these trade targets later. Today was just we went a little longer than we wanted. I wanted to talk about Riley's presser, all that stuff. Remember, it's Pride Month. We have a ton coming up. Be on the lookout for that. Check all this out. Follow us on Twitter at MIAHeatBeat, myself at GNavas103. Kenny, what's your at?
Kenny16 text KENNY16TECHS. I can never spell things correctly on the first attempt, so I did pretty well there. So congratulations to me. Yeah.
Thank you guys for vibing with us. We're gonna bring you coverage throughout the playoffs, the rest of the playoffs, off season, and beyond. Thank you guys for sticking with us. Year 9 in the books for Heatbeat, and we have so much more to give you guys. So stay tuned. We love y'all, and enjoy the rest of the finals and the off season. We get to relax a little bit. It's been a ride. Chat goes, was that a DUI check, Kenny?